Hi everyone, my name is Vincent Teo and I'm a display reviewer and professional calibrator. Today, we're taking a look at Sony's new VPL-VW270ES projector, which is also marketed as the VPL-VW295ES in North America. Both model numbers are a mouthful, and let's face it, English is not my native language. I always buy extra fine beans from supermarkets because I thought I was getting more. So, to save myself from the embarrassment, throughout this review I may refer to this projector as the Sony 270 or VW270. It's an SXRD lamp-based projector with true 4K resolution of 4096 x 2160 pixels from the Japanese brand. The VW270's major upgrade over last year's VW260 are two full bandwidth 18 gigabits per second HDMI 2.0 ports with HDTV 2.2 compliance, allowing users to enjoy 4K HDR videos at higher bit depth, frame rate or chroma. Another improvement is that Motionflow can now be deployed in 4K content, so that you can watch fast action sports at UHD resolution with reduced motion blur. Despite these upgrades, the Sony VW270ES is priced the same as its predecessor at £5,000. It's no small change of course, but still makes the VW270 the most affordable 2018 model true 4K projector you can buy new on the market at the time I filmed this video in November 2018. There are no surprises with the design. It retains the same chassis that Sony has been using for a good few years now, sporting a centrally mounted lens flanked by front air vents. Our review sample carries a fingerprint-repelling matte black finish, but it's also available in white. Lens shift, zoom, and focus can be adjusted electronically with precision, which we really appreciated, but the lens cover is not motorized, so you have to remove it or put it back manually. Oh, the travesty. Before proceeding to talk about picture quality, I'd like to thank Richard Sound Manchester for sponsoring this video. If you are thinking about buying a new projector, even if it's not the Sony 270, please consider supporting this YouTube channel by buying it from them. They may even have a unit in their demo room for you to audition. Call 0333 900 0086, mention HDTV test, and the team at Richard Sound Manchester will look after you. Thanks again for your support. Right, like most Sony projectors, the VW270ES calibrates beautifully. After SDR calibration, delta errors averaged less than 1 on this challenging color checker SG chart where 140 color patches were measured, well below the humanly perceptible threshold of delta error 3. What this means is that all colors including skin tones will look extremely natural and realistic in real-life content. Sony has also improved the gamma tracking on the VW270. As you can see from this chart, the projector tracked 2.4 gamma in a linear fashion, even near black where previous Sony projectors may suffer from a gamma droop causing shadow detail to look indistinct. Because of the flatter gamma tracking, we saw more pop and shadow detail from the VW270 compared with the outgoing VW260, resulting in a truly immersive cinematic experience whatever movie we watched. Blacks are respectable. They are not as deep as JVC's DILA projectors or Sony's own step-up VW570ES model with dynamic iris, but at least the absence of dynamic iris on the VW270 means that there are no fluctuation in luminance or light pumping artifacts. Motion handling is top-notch as we've come to expect from Sony, delivering smooth pans in 24 frames per second films without telescenic judder, even with Motionflow switched off. The Motionflow system implemented on the VPL-VW270ES is pure frame interpolation, so while it can double motion resolution from the sample and hold baseline of 300 lines to around 600 lines, it will also introduce visible soap opera effect or SOE to 24 frames per second movies, as well as interpolation artifacts when there's complex movements on screen. As mentioned earlier, Motionflow can now be used to improve motion clarity when watching 4K content, such as fast-moving sports from the UHD SkyQ Silver Box in the UK. Just like Sony projectors over the last few years, the VW270 applies some gentle noise reduction at all times, even with the noise reduction controls and reality creation turned off. This always-on noise reduction can only be defeated by enabling input lag reduction, which presumably switches off all background processing. To be fair, the processing is light and does not radically alter the look of most movies. But if you are a purist like me, just be aware that the Sony 270 is designed to slightly suppress the fine layer of grain present in some films. Lens quality is acceptable. There's some mild focus softening away from the center, but unless you're happy to fork out tens of thousands of pounds more for the crazy sharp ARC-F lens, the optics performance is satisfactory overall, considering the price point. Next, HDR. Some basics. The Sony 270 supports the open standard HDR10 and broadcast-friendly HLG formats, and its DCI-P3 color gamut coverage measured 85%. HDR on projectors has always been a bit of a minefield because of the relatively low light output of projectors compared with HDR televisions, and how the lumens output is affected by the projected screen size, making it difficult to arrive at a ratified standard. Sony has provided two different HDR curves on the VW270ES, namely HDR10 and HDR reference. From our testing, HDR10 has a softer roll-off for better bright detail preservation, whereas HDR reference tracks the ST2084 PQ-EOTF standard as closely as possible to 1000 nits with more of a hard clipping. Unless you know the mastering display luminance and max CLL metadata on a particular 4K Blu-ray disc, it's best to leave the HDR setting on auto, although sometimes the HDR picture can still look too dark. You can use contrast enhancer to brighten the picture, but since this is merely dynamic contrast stretching instead of dynamic tone mapping, you risk blowing out specular highlight detail as well. In my opinion, the best, although hardly free solution is to pair the Sony VPL-VW270ES projector with Panasonic's UB820 or UB9000 4K Blu-ray players, whose HDR optimizer function will provide better auto-tone mapping results. I may cover this in my upcoming review of the Panasonic UB9000 before the end of the year. With input lag reduction enabled on our Sony 270 review sample, input lag measured 37 milliseconds with 1080p video signal and 32 milliseconds with a UHD signal. Please bear in mind that these figures are derived from the Leo-Bodnar tester by measuring the middle flashing box, as we've always done in our reviews. If you place the photo sensor over the top or bottom flashing box, then the measured lag time will decrease or increase correspondingly, which may explain different results from other publications. Given that the Sony VW270 has gained two 18 gigabits per second HDMI 2.0 ports, which in theory should be perfect for 4K at 60p gaming, we were genuinely surprised to see obvious posterization in the skies of Assassin's Creed Origins and Forza Motorsport on the Xbox One X console, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4 Pro. We double-checked and triple-checked all our settings, turning on and off input lag reduction, reality creation, dynamic range, and HDMI signal format on the projector, as well as the RGB and YCBCR settings on our game consoles, but failed to get rid of the posterization. To clarify, Sony's 4K projectors have always exhibited a touch more posterization than competing projectors from rival brands, noticeably in the sky of The Martian, although you can engage smooth gradation to create a smoother image. However, the solarization in 4K HDR games looked more severe and jarring, and it's present on the step-up VW570ES I had in for review at the same time too, suggesting that there might be some bandwidth limitation in the processing pipeline somewhere. However, we didn't see such apparent posterization when we played Billy Lynn's long halftime walk at 4K 60p 12-bit 422, so we are not entirely sure what's going on. I've reported the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro 4K HDR game posterization to Sony and hope that it's just something I've missed in my setup. Last but not least, the Sony VW270ES supports 3D, although no 3D glasses are supplied, so you would have to buy the compatible TDG BT500A active shutter glasses separately yourself. The projector resolves Full HD 3D resolution, as you can see from our custom-authored test pattern, but some crosstalk is unavoidable, and high lamp mode is a must for a sufficiently bright 3D picture. Talking of which, in low lamp mode, the Sony 270 is one of the quietest projectors we've tested in recent years. The fan obviously spins louder with lamp mode set to high, which is necessary for 3D and HDR, But that's par for the course for most 4K projectors, and with good projector placement and your surround sound setup going off, the background noise shouldn't be a problem. To conclude, the Sony VW270ES shows a beautifully cinematic picture, with its key strengths being the detailed silkiness of true 4K resolution, stunning color accuracy after calibration, flat 2.4 gamma tracking with greater pop and shadow detail inside than last year's VW260, as well as outstanding motion handling. To call a 5,000 pound projector good value might seem strange to you, but the reality is that neither JVCs or absence pixel shifters nor the TI DLP UHD projectors are true 4K, and so the Sony 270 is the most affordable native 4K projector you can buy new in 2018, earning it our highly recommended Best Value Award. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.